I
Hey everybody, welcome back to another all-new X's for Show. I'm Nico, and you can check me out at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
And that makes me Tori Sheehan at SM Tori on all the socials.
Oh, try again.
You muted, kid.
His name's Peak Jonah, and you guys can check him out at PEAK Jonah, and he's gonna do some cool AV.
And we will get him figured out. Otherwise, he might try sign language. Maybe we'll translate for him. Maybe he'll do panto. Who knows? I am your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment if you know how to fix Jonah's audio. We have topics for today already, though. In fact, we have an abundance of topic because once again, we find ourselves in the dreaded drag overlap.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, you might have on, like, a really cool shirt and you've got on, like, a really cool jacket, and you try to put the shirt with the jacket and you're like, oh man, this is going to look good. Why does it look so puffy? Why do I look so puffy? I feel like Drag Race gets real puffy a couple times a year, but more than anything, I feel so bad saying it, but I am pretty glad that we are finally back at Drag Race UK, because Global All-Stars not doing it for me. And this episode of Drag Race UK, I thought we started with some good shit, even if there's a lady whose name I don't think any of us are equipped to say.
No, I mean, come on, we can say it.
I think we should just call her like Rila, or like
I think just Relisa, if nothing else, is fine. But we're good. We're good.
She wants you to say it. Is the
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Wouldn't have named
she
herself.
asked for it dressed like that.
Okay, but when I go up to a straight guy and go, "Call me a faggot," do it. I mean, I don't think they should.
If you name yourself Mr. Faggot, then that's what you
when
want
you
them
name
to
yourself
call
Mr.
you.
Faggot,
So
yeah.
that's what you're looking for. Yeah. TK.
I like this overlap. I feel bad because it is demonstrating clearly why Global All-Stars is not the global sensation we all think it is. But there are times when the overlap is two shows that are it's Puffy Coat. It's the overlap is too full. So it's like this one, so much is already happening, and I was kind of focused on these girls and the storylines, and now this other one is great, but it's sort of confusing things. Mm-hmm. This one is just the right amount of Global All-Stars is a little thin, and we're now at season 6 for UK, so we're pretty much in the zone now. Like, we know what we're getting. We did get a slight change up with the pay increase, but nothing so wild has happened. We're 12 girls. It's a talent show night. This is a very standard form. It's a recognizable country. We're not doing culture shock or anything. So between these two, I had a really fun week. I think this made me like both shows a little. I had a little more fun with both shows this week than I can't say what would have happened with UK because that hasn't been out on its own yet, but definitely helped for Global All-Stars.
But no, you're saying the wrong thing, because the wrong person went home on Global All-Stars, so it was a terrible week.
Oh, I mean, we're going to get into that in a second, but everything up until that moment was fun-ish.
I want to find out if we got fun. Jonah, what you got? What's your name?
My name is Jonah, and I can be followed at Peak Jonah. Don't ask me why the program just decided not to read my microphones.
Inner saboteur.
My outer saboteur, my technological
It's coming for you.
So
it's not your fault.
How you feeling about the overlap? How you feeling about this double duty on Global and Ook?
Now, I think if you were a Drag Race fan who watches every single Drag Race season, no matter what it is, you'd probably be, I think you're like 4 seasons deep currently. I think there's like 4 concurrent running, roughly, give or take. So for us at 2 is pretty manageable. I fully forgot that UK was airing now. And part of that is because I subscribe to the WoW Presents YouTube channel. They didn't promote it. They didn't. There was no Meet the Queens. There was no trailer, unless it didn't make it to my sub box. Which is
I believe it didn't make it to your sub because I do believe there is a Meet the Queens for this. Girls.
I did not get it, so
they weren't pushing it on the app, is what you're saying.
So you're saying drag queen Ali Go Rhythm sabotaged you by not letting you see the video?
Yes,
really good.
But regardless of all the conflama and the drama that surrounds it, I was able to watch, everything fine, and I was very pleasantly surprised by how spectacular this opening was. Now, granted, UK's had this before, where the first episode is spectacular and the rest of the season kind of takes a little bit of a nosedive, in my personal opinion, in terms of entertainment and everything else.
Name them.
Season 3. Season 3 starts off very strong, in my opinion, and then honestly, it's not really the Queen's fault. It's just the way that everything just happens to shake out. It makes for a very interesting season. That being said, wow, what a wonderful, beautiful cast. And outside of maybe one thing I would change on Global, for the most part, this was a pretty fantastic Global All-Star. There really wasn't much in terms of, this should have happened. All the cards seem to lie where they should have for the most part, and I can't really complain. I am devastated by who we lost on Global, but and the most beautifully unfortunate thing, it was the most fair elimination we've had so far. So
now I gotta know, because Jonah's wrong. Tori, how did you feel about these? I mean, he's gorgeous. Look at him. But this was the correct elimination? I don't think so. Tori, you're also gorgeous.
So
but are you correct?
I'm actually, and I'm going to defend why I agree with Jonah, because I love Pythia. I just finished Pythia's season. And so after we were like, oh yeah, it's the roast, blah, blah, blah. Like an hour after recording, I texted Jonah and I was like, it's the roast next week. We're going to lose Pythia.
She did.
It was not good. And we were like, well, maybe. And we were like, and I was like, and so I was expecting this. I was expecting it to be this. And I agree that she should have been in the bottom, that she should have been lip syncing. I agree that it should have been Vanity Vane against her. I agree that Vanity Vane won that lip sync. From the moment that she and plopped that hand down on that joystick and took me on that drive, I was like, wow, I just went to a Vanity Vane stand. Like it was Pythia does not. This is something I also talked to Jonah about, but Pythia's version of lip syncing is a little more dreamy and arm wavy and Bianca-y, and so it's just not going to stand up against someone who came to trot in her best Sandy at the end of Grease gear, especially when Pythia also had the confidence not to change, which was also the moment I realized she was not gonna get to stay.
I have some feels about. I hear you. I actually thought Vanity did a terrible job in the lip sync. For me, I really thought she gave. Vanity is so much more talented than me. I'm not saying shit about Vanity as a human being or a performer, but Vanity gave me the drag number I get from girls doing their first time in drag that are never going to do it again. She gave me a dancer doing lip sync, which is super cute and I'm super into it. But also, I would have sent Vanity home without any pause for her roast. For those of you who were cool when you were 11, you might remember that before she was Robin Konnichiwa Bitches, Robin was here. And the last track, if you bought the red version of the American album, was an a cappella called I Wish. And it was from a Swedish radio station. And it's almost like It's not ad-libbed, but it is this close. And she's like, I wish the day you went away never happened to baby. And it's like so over the top and silly. And like, it's about her parents' divorce. So I'm not shitting on her. But what Vanity Vane did on that stage was, I mean, it was the most angry I've been at a piece of art since Brooklyn the Musical. It was just about the worst thing to happen to a stage since perhaps Valentina played Angel. I was so mad.
I think you are overselling it a little
I think
bit
that was
because
a little rough, tough.
I think she's so talented, but I think it was not a roast, and it's the thing we're always talking about, where certain things do not work in every...
Oh, yeah, no, the roast was terrible.
The roast.
It's true.
You were you were describing her roast. Sorry, I thought you were describing the
lip sync.
The lip sync.
Oh no! I thought
the roast. Yes,
the roast was literally
for me. The roast. She was the bottom, but there's two people in the bottom, so I do think Pythia was the second worst. I thought Pythia was funnier because I really didn't think Vanity Vane was funny, but it was the least good performance after Vanity's. But my thing is, I am more Team Nico about the lip sync. I thought Vanity was I thought the thing that she figured out that the judges agreed with, and like weirdly they cut to Alyssa and Queen being in on this too. The thing she did was just bring an insane amount of energy. I don't feel that what she did with it wowed me. Not me, didn't wow me. I wasn't like, this is bad, why would you bring energy? But I was like, I don't really care. Where my only critique to Pythia, I loved the performance. I was more into Pythia's performance. I thought keeping her gear on worked great for the blowography, windography.
Fanography.
Thank you. I thought it worked better for that. And if she had just noticed that Vanity got some jaw drops the first time she really kicked it into the next gear and had met her energy, Pythia could have stayed. All of this then aside, we go to the question of, do you always stay if you win the lip sync, or does track record sometimes come into play? I feel that Vanity should have gone home because overall, Pythia was doing better in the competition, and for me, did not do so much worse in the lip sync that Vanity then deserved to stay. Vanity did so much better. Even if technically she won, which I will accept that argument. I don't personally agree, but I can see it. She did bring so much energy. My thing is, we still have no solid answer to the question, is the lip sync, if you are the best, does that instantly mean you are saved, or is it a factor? And we asked this question a bunch. I forget why, but it was a season 16 thing where, I mean, we talked about it with Mirage, we talked about it with Plasma. To me, we have seen instances, we always see instances where the person overall is doing so much better and does not do so bad in the lip sync that you can justify taking them out. There are other times where, you know, they just decide like, oh, this person did better in the lip sync, so they won. And Rue kind of justifies it that way. You know, she'll talk about it on our podcast or on YouTube or something. And it just drives me a little bit nuts. Well, Pythia was the better competitor.
I say, you know, the answer to who wins the lip sync, is it always the best performance, or is it the, you know, whatever reason lies in with what RuPaul says. This is your last chance to impress me.
Right.
Nothing about the lip sync. Nothing about the lip sync is about that. It's this is your last chance to impress RuPaul, to say, I still have the fire to stay.
And I'm shocked sometimes by who has impressed her, if that's the person that is staying. And in this case, Vanity, it really to me was a shock.
And to that end, Kevo, I want to know what you think. Is it all in vain, or is it a pithy? Do you think that the right person stuck around, or do you think that this is like an Elgin Marble level of Greek theft?
Yeah, that was very pithy of you. You know, it was a bit painful, but genuinely I felt like the singing one was so much more uncomfortable. I was just very surprised. You know, this is always such a hard one, and something that we discussed in addition to everything else as we were coming up on this, and as we've done other challenges, is the language barrier, and how difficult is it for some of these queens to have to translate back and forth between so many different languages for these challenges, just to communicate in the first place, but also to cater to Rue's sensibilities and her humor, which is often
Specific.
ephemeral.
As international as a coffee roast blend.
Yes, it's wild. Sometimes it is incredibly niche, nuanced references, and sometimes it's just fart. And so it can be really hard to pin down for girls from the Drag Race homeland in the first place. But for something like this, especially when you have a mix of girls, so it's not even like a bulk of girls, like where it's something versus the world, where it's mostly one language. It's a hugely mixed bag, and it's one of those things where I kind of wish they had, like we keep saying this whole time, we wish that they had done a better job of highlighting all of these girls' cultures and bringing that more to the table in a way that celebrated them, rather than making it feel like it was an obstacle to get screen time, to get laughs from Rue.
And to add on to your point, there are plenty of people who in English bomb the roast. Let's get this roast cooking. The entirety of Utica's set.
Yeah.
You're the one bombing.
Man, I feel terrible because that's a queen that I kind of don't think of when I think of roasts, no matter how bad. Like, that's one of those things.
Well, yeah, because we like to think of the good ones. We don't like to think of the
I enjoy a good garbage fire. And
please attest the amount of times I'd love to say, let's get this roast cooking.
Yeah, he does.
You can include the
I mean, I feel like it's the catchphrase, though. We never actually talk about how Farrah did at that. Like, we just know she did badly. She had a great line. But, like, Utica, the only reason I think of Utica is because it was actually, like, beyond bad. It was, like, a step over to the other side from bad, because she also was, like, confrontational and did the thing telling her to stand up, which was, like, borderline a production violation. Lonnie Love got in the mix and told her she was bombing. Like, it was almost the fact that she didn't do well was almost not related to the stuff that happened on that stage, which is amazing. Yeah.
I just want to, on that topic, making Rue stand up in Disney World, there's rules on how far you can make Ariel flip her fin.
Right.
Because higher than a certain angle is actually a dance move.
Yeah.
And not that high is an acting move.
Oh, so
in Disney World, she can't flip her fin more than 45 degrees, or it's actually a dance move, and it's a different union.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that RuPaul, her union doesn't believe in standing up for anything. So asking her to stand is so ballsy.
Yeah, I mean, we love Utica to this day. She is an icon, but she did do that. I don't know. I mean, like, for me, that's the only thing is, like, Vanity did kind of bomb at that level of, like, it was painful to watch because the song was just like Pythia. I wouldn't even say like it was not good, but like she did have. I laughed a couple times, and then like she had, as soon as RuPaul was like, "What if you did the Zeus voice?" You saw that like she actually is funny. She just wasn't confident. Like everything was there. We just didn't get it. Poor Vanity, again, great idea, as they said, like you went to your strengths, you just didn't have anything but the idea that you should sing. I mean, Courtney Act did the exact same thing.
That's what I said.
Same problem. It just was not funny at all, but she, smart idea. She can sing really well. She had a plan for how to, apply what she's good at to the challenge, but then she didn't have the other half of the plan, which is where are the jokes? Like this poor Vanity needed to meet our good friend Weird Al. Like she just needed the inspiration of some solid comedy songwriting, and weren't there. And that's the end of that story.
I don't think Weird Al would even do well on a Drag Race challenge. I think you need a Rachel Bloom. You need
but much better example. Although not a Zionist, but yes.
You need somebody to come in and massage the material.
It's true.
To be clever.
I even
Because-
want to actually ding her in a different direction, though. To be
Please.
honest, creatively, I finally listened to her Super Best Friends song for the Flash musical that she wrote the president of the CW begging to write because she heard they were doing a musical and was like, can I write an original song? And it was not great. So I actually am not 100% sure for creative reasons that she would be good on a collaborative project like this. I would hope, but I think I would make her just as nebulous as you felt the other one. I forget now who it was.
The unspoken thing is that she had a very important writing partner who unfortunately passed during COVID.
Well, but that even winds up being a big part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Like I really recognize that when we're talking about Rachel, we're talking about Adam. Yeah, but what's his last name? Schlesinger.
Yeah, something like that.
Who probably better known as the songwriter behind Fountains of Wayne. Which I have such a weird relationship with that band. My theater professor, my actual mentor in life growing up, was from Wayne, New Jersey, and had mentored those kids when they were growing up, and so that one of them would go on to be involved heavily in musical theater. Always, I was mentored by the same guy, and so really positive feelings.
He wrote that thing you do.
Yeah, exactly. And so Dr. P was always so positive. On,
Dr. P.
Yes, that's that human.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, the guy who was like, you can write musicals. Stop thinking you can't. You're dumb. And so he...
At least half his panel says the same thing. Continue.
So I wind up, really being interested in Fountains of Wayne and their body of work and what they do. And you do kind of come to realize that, maybe Rue's not as funny as she is when Michelle's there.
Yeah,
maybe
100%.
Rachel is a genius. Yeah, but maybe she's funnier when somebody is there with the songwriting experience. Because one of the things I know that is kind of haunting me more and more about these seasons, the further we go, is, do you want to know what I think would be the ultimate Drag Race season? An actual team season. I don't mean girls teaming up. I mean girls getting to bring their fucking team.
Yeah.
I mean a girl getting to bring her makeup expert and her hair makeup expert and her costuming expert. And I want to see 10 Yards Clothing up there. And I want to see Raven doing someone's makeup. And I want to see these people getting in the mix, and I want to see their art celebrated. If I'm going to watch 3.5 fucking hours of Drag Race every week anyway, I want to see the people behind the camera that make everybody so beautiful get their due, because they're beautiful too.
Which also, unfortunately, they already used the term pit crew for the pit crew, but that would literally, if we're doing Drag Race, you literally would turn your team into the pit crew for you, the queen, that you're gonna run in and they're gonna do it all, which would be an amazing thing to have a particular challenge.
We
that
can call
was
them the unstuffed pit crew.
Love it. But to have a challenge where somebody has to rush off stage and get pit crewed, get immediately re-wigged, remade up, new outfit put on. What?
The fit crew.
Love it.
Pit crew.
Listen, these are free ideas, man. We're putting them out there, but you should also hire us. We'll just keep spitballing. I love this idea, and also because let's acknowledge the fact that it does take a fucking village and quite a lot of cash. And we do more and more because people will say I brought this outfit. Oftentimes, as we're kind of, we have people showing up to the season, as in UK this year, where the person's like, I made everybody's outfit, so I decided I'd come on the show and show everybody how it's done, which I think is the fucking queenest thing to do on the show.
We mostly call it the Carol King.
Yes. Some people do it and they absolutely, you're like, yeah, this is a person finally showing their fashion. And sometimes you're like, some people are made to make outfits and some people are made to wear those outfits.
Oh my God. But a crunchy Jewish Brooklynite singer drag queen named Carol King. I'm sorry, Carol Queen.
Carol
and
Queen,
now
yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. I could do that. I think I'm Jewish enough for that. I also feel like I could do the Carol King voice for the performances.
I've heard you.
I mean, it wouldn't be good, but I could emulate it.
Yeah, I've heard you get about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Nico, I love that idea. And again, I think it's really important. The show eventually is going to run out of ways to stop acknowledging the fact that so many people are involved in making these queens look amazing in their careers.
Right.
I'm really excited for this next challenge because love her. She's incredible, talented at everything. I do not believe Alyssa has the ability to step outside herself, nor the practice to make over another person. I could be wrong.
She's only done it once with her sister.
She could be doing a lot more makeup than I realize on her own and on other people, but she is famously somebody who gets painted by others. That's like, in videos, she is the one that gets painted by others and says funny stuff. There's so many instances of her working that angle. We do not hear a lot about Alyssa, the girl who, she has drag daughters, but we don't see her do the painting. And I suspect we are really about to see a moment where we will all have to point and say, like, she's amazing, but who makes that happen? Not just her.
I just want to say she got a lot of drag daughters. Yeah, and a lot of guys call me daddy. So, it's just sort of like par for the course. But speaking of people who we should all call mommy, Tori, something that I'm really fascinated by, Dom your mommy, like, you got this. But one of the things that I'm really fascinated by here is your experience working with the caliber of people that are involved with Drag Race. It is one thing to be like, oh, a person's a celebrity, but like, so few people actually get the window in to see the people who are divas put in the work and put in the 12-hour rehearsal and then put in the 2-3 shows a day and then get on the bus and get on the road and then go to the next performance and do it all again. How does it feel? These candid slices, do they really help you see these? Like, do you feel like you see these girls the way you would see the real people on tours the same way?
I think we have to remember they know the cameras are there and they know how the game is played. I think you get a little bit more of the real people the first time they're on the show, particularly in the early episodes when they are not quite as, they're a little more like loose. But I think even that has fallen apart a little. I think it becomes a lot more clear if you start watching a lot of their interviews or things for this kinds of stuff, that you'll get a better vibe of like where their reality actually lies. But I think that it definitely allows you to see who considers their drag a character that is separate from them versus themselves in drag. And I think that is the main thing that you get to see with these little interstitials and the behind the scenes stuff, is that you get to see like, oh, this drag is not them. It's a particular character that you put on. It's a particular vibe that you put on, kind of thing. Jonah, you and TK have seen a lot of these things go on for a very long time. Are you finding that the girls are more? Do you feel like the girls are more or less honest when we're back in these interstitial moments, especially when they're on for their second or third time?
That's an interesting question. I don't think anybody's, not specifically not themselves, but I do think you're right in that when for most of the queens, and they talk about this when they're cast on the show, outside of maybe, exceptions like Willem, this is the first time being on TV. This is the first time being surrounded by cameras. First time being like, cut, we need to refilm this. Cut, hold on, changing cameras. Cut, you're on hard ice, no talking. Like, it's very easy to think you just kind of go on, they just mic you, and that's just kind of it, and they just kind of just film the cameras, because that's what certain reality TV shows are. But this is not one of them. This is reality competition. This isn't reality TV in the sense, like, it's not a Real Housewives season. Right. They're not just mic'd, and they're not just going to brunch and then they just let whatever happens. This is actual story producers that are trying to create a narrative throughout the season. So I think their first time around, they might be a little more, don't want to say genuine, but a little more green, so it comes across maybe even more natural or more relatable in senses of like, this is, I kind of see who this person is. And once everybody's kind of already familiar with them and they get a little more comfortable on TV, I think they themselves might even be a little bit more comfortable leaning into certain storylines or doing certain things to get more airtime. And truthfully, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
And I think in that regard, I think for a queen like Alyssa Edwards, who is such a veteran of this franchise by now, this in many ways to me feels like the most manufactured Alyssa Edwards we have seen. I don't mean that like to be insulting. You know, all of this is performance. You're on reality television, so there's going to be an amount of curation to what you do, especially when, like I said, you're a veteran of this stuff for so long. But yeah, I kind of feel like that's even part of the Alyssa Edwards vibe of I am here to be the Alyssa Edwards, is that, you know, it's kind of manufactured.
But, and you know, oh God, it's so hard because one of the things that I think that drag as a culture, right? So I made a new friend. Do you know how hard it is to make friends at 38? Do you know how hard it is? Right? So I made a new friend and he literally said to me, what the fuck? I literally don't understand what drag is. What is drag? Why are you a drag king? And how is that not a drag queen? And I like thought about it and I was like, okay, I want you to think of the word drag as exaggerative magic. And a drag queen is the exaggerated magic version of a diva. I'm a drag king. I'm the exaggerated magical version of masculinity. And like, it is this idea of pushing things to the extreme. And when I think about trying to explain what that means, when it comes to somebody like an Alyssa, when it comes to somebody whose whole shtick is drag itself, and then we kind of come down to this conversation of it's manufactured here. Something I don't love is that I feel like everything Alyssa's worn looks like it was designed by Cheer USA. I don't think she looks like she's wearing Balenciaga. I don't think she looks like she's super excited to go to Mykonos. Like, I think she looks like she and her Pop Warner crew are going to head to Orlando for the weekend. And so, like, I'm a little thrown off because part of the magic of drag is sort of like, and I hate to be that guy, but like, one of the things I love when a drag queen gets on stage, rips her shirt, and is like, nope, this is what I'm doing now. I've ruined the outfit. That's the moment. That's the moment. You know, like, I don't know. I just don't want to see Alyssa Edwards wind up Megalopolis.
There was a clip I meant to share into everyone's chats of Jinx at a meet and greet, and a drag queen meets her, and she's wearing a Jinx
Brazil.
look. Yeah, from many, many, many moons ago. And she tells Jinx about like the journey this look has gone on. And she offers to give it back, and Jinx is like, no, pay it forward. I often wondered what happened to it, but I love knowing it's been on a journey. And that is, I feel, a lot the spirit of what you're talking about, where it is, you know, still meant to be art and live performance art at that. And so the idea of this, and it was made by Jeffrey Mack. That was another huge part of why I meant to send it, because your boyfriend. But yeah,
the actual fucking love of my
but
life.
Like, so long before he was the Project Runway winner, I think. And so like that is a huge part of it, that like the journey that this goes on, and now this thing is legendary and it's live performance art, and it's not, you know, quite the same commodified thing.
And I'm so glad you brought up Jeffrey Mack, not just because I would let somebody pierce my left nut on a train to have dinner with Jeffrey Mack, but because when you talk about when you talk about people whose artistry, like Jeffrey Mack is such an important designer. Candy Muse wore his bubble jacket to lose to Jimbo, and I just want to put it that way. Because even if she lost, she was the best dressed person on YouTube that night. And that is literally a fact.
It is a fact.
I think part of the energy of Drag Race, and, you know, Tori, Jonah, TK, I would love to hear your weight on this. When it comes to things like Jeffrey Mack, who was a nobody designer, who is now one of the most famous designers in the world. And you compare that to like these queens who they were nobodies playing in a class. They were Chaperone in 2023, and now they are Chaperone in 2024. And by the way, I guess all things really do go. But I'm sorry, I didn't. I did not mean to compare her to Gottmik. But I would love to get your guys' take on what happens when you have this long to look at a queen. We watched Alyssa go from like the legitimate farm girl, salt to the earth, just coming into her own, to literally one of the most successful people in her industry and the history of her industry being in media. How do you guys feel when you see a girl go through that kind of transformation over the course of 10 years, or in Tori's case, 3 weeks?
I mean, it's exciting. It's what we hope for them. That's the name of the game, to become the most highly polished version of your drag that you possibly can, as the money comes in, as the friends come in, like as the opportunities come in, to just level up. And sometimes it's by miles, sometimes it's by inches, but I mean, I think that Alyssa, her runway package has had some really exciting, dramatic moments to it that are above and beyond the Alyssa that we've known. And then there's some other stuff that is just classic Alyssa. I think she's very much that Texas, more like, it's not as pageanty drama as like Kennedy might be, but it is still like the dynasty of it all, that kind of upper crust kind of vibes, just a little bit tackier, a little bit more fun, a little bit more wink wink. So I love getting to see queens more. I wish that there were more opportunities for us to see more girls without feeling like we were watching 700 million episodes of this at once. So
You muted.
TK, what you got?
I mean, Tori, I think said it best. Like this, we look forward to this. We are rooting for these people, and yeah, having more time, it's very crazy to, have those moments of being like, I watched you when you didn't seem like that big a deal, and like maybe even this show didn't seem like that big a deal, and now things are just so different, and there goes the passage of time. But yeah, I mean, like it's always a joy to get to follow somebody's career from even now, like even the season 16 girls, when the show is so popular now and they're going to the Emmys and really recognizable. This still feels like early in their careers, and like not, like there's more to come and there's so much more to see. And it's really it's fun and a privilege to watch it. I'm muted.
God damn it.
Same thing. I keep having to cough. It's my final fall allergies.
And the fucking hardest part is, like, everybody who knows me knows that there is very little I like having in front of me as much as a microphone. I am like, really, I don't ever stop talking. It's so frustrating. So the fact that I keep going to ask other people to talk and can't seem to do it is fuck. Jonah, I would love to know how you feel about this. One of the things that I know that, and I'm not trying to paint your age here, but something that is really important as age trends down is a continuous focus on honesty and veracity. There is a focus on breaking illusion the younger you go. And while certainly you and I only have, maybe 11 years between us, something that I do know is you are a part of a diaspora that calls for breaking behind the illusion, and yet some of the most popular queens of your generation are the most made up, are the most artificial in terms of production, but because they give of themselves so honestly, it kind of breaks free of that. Where do you fall in this debate of, do you need the artist to be completely bare open for you, or when somebody Alyssa's and gives into the illusion, are you just as happy for them being just their giant top hat?
For my money, it kind of depends on the person. Sometimes there are people who they live and die by the art. They are the queen is them, and everything about them is, as you said, you're bleeding for the art. You sacrifice something, and there are people who do that I love. I love that they do that. And there are people who do just put on a top hat, and that is the character. And there is a very separation between the artist and the art. And for a lot of people, for a lot of these queens, even though they are the art themselves, there is a separation between them in and out of drag. I personally, for my money, it's all about who they are as a person, what they're trying to sell. So I buy a lot of different things. I spend way too much money on plenty of stuff. And for the way I spend my money and the way that they're trying to sell to me, it's always, does it catch my eye? And different things will catch my eye for different reasons. Different people will, appeal to me for whatever that may be. So I don't personally think that every single queen has to bare their soul into every single performance, every single thing that they do. Sometimes they're just doing something for a paycheck. Sometimes there's a separation between how a person wants to present themselves on stage and how they act, and not in a someone's being bad and doing something bad way, but more like the show character is a little bit different than the character backstage. And that's fine. Let people choose how they want to present their art. Not every guy who's in a heavy metal band is a heavy metal guy outside of his band.
As a guy who has put down a lot of metal vocals in the last 25 years, let me tell you, I've never headbanged anything. No, my neck isn't for that.
Yeah. I just also, gosh, a lot of people did really well with this roast. Like, I was so happy for Nelania. She did great, even with her coming at the language from a secondary place. I thought, I was very excited that I was honestly very excited that Kitty and Queen got to split it. It was outside of a couple of duds, it was a pretty decent roast.
I concur. For my money and for me being the story producer I want to be, I honestly thought it should have been Nelania and Queen as a double win.
Same.
You have the person who was called sensitive the entire season, and the person calling her sensitive win a roast challenge.
Same.
I think it all ties together. And it's not that even Kitty did horrendous or bad. Kitty did pretty well, but I do agree this performance wasn't the Kitty I expected. I think of Kitty's roast on UK3 and how much I enjoyed that. And
Yes.
not that I didn't enjoy this roast, but it felt a little more mild as opposed to a heavy brew kind of roast, where I do agree she rushed a little in her delivery, which I think took away from some of it. And I don't know, I am also of the mindset, Nelania, I'm biased because I'm rooting for her and I adore this queen.
Same.
But somebody who not only is ESL, doesn't speak English as their first language, but on top of her talking about in Italy's culture and Italian culture, roasts aren't a thing. They don't do this. This is not how they do comedy. The fact that she was able to do so well was pretty astounding.
Yeah.
And the show is just not beating the allegations that it was meant for a Rue girl. And it's fine. It's fine. It was just kind of the cherry on top.
She should have at least one win by now. There are
Oh.
many times where she should have had a win.
And if I can just promote a comedy queen while we're at it real quick, not that I have a whole lot of stake in this game, but I do just want to say that I am maybe a little madly in love with this woman. And if you happen to be out in the Chicago area and you need to support a local queen, this woman is one of the funniest queens you will ever lay your eyes on. Luxurious Temptation is a phenomenal human, an unbelievable performer, one of the most athletic queens I have ever seen in my life. And I am quite smitten with this kitten. And so if you want to check out a real life comedy queen and you want to send some tips her way,
She's a comedy girl.
You should check out this comedy girl. Luxury D Temptation on Insta, but Luxurious Temptation, let me just tell you, she is all the temptation you can handle. So
We love a
anyway.
plug. We love
Yeah,
a
we
friend
love-
of the pod.
yeah, we love a plug. We love a friend of the pod. We love a real pretty friend of the pod. Hey, girl. But enough objectifying this incredibly sexy human. Does anybody have anything left to add before we move over officially to UK?
I'll miss you, Pythia.
Yeah,
We
mostly
miss you.
just
We miss
sad.
you.
Sad,
love you.
sad.
It's
This
very
is-
funny. Oh, please go.
Go ahead.
I was
No.
going to make a joke that they reused another Canadian song for the Canadian girl. They did this for her on her season. She got, I forget which Celine song it was.
Drove all night.
No, that was Kiara and
No, I'm just being mad
Priyanka.
that I was just being mad.
Yeah, no. I will say though, I didn't like and pun intended, Vanity's little pithy comment as Pythia was cut. that, and not to. I found it very tacky, and it wasn't necessary. And now I wish even more that she had gone home instead, and that makes me sad because, I want a season, especially like Global All Stars, to be one where we're all being our best, and not being snippy about people that you just beat. So we'll see what happens next week. What's the challenge? Does anybody remember?
Makeover.
Makeover the other girls.
Oh, right.
bringing them back.
Because then exactly, I am on such a goddamn hot streak lately because we were joking. Oh, they're going to do one of those things where they're going to pull a twist and one of the old girls is going to come back next week. And then literally the next time on, the girls come back in the room. Yeah. So that's why you don't act too shady, because you never know when someone's going to walk right back in the room. It's like that one season where the girls were behind the mirror the entire time. You don't know. You don't know.
Well,
I'm kind of hoping that maybe this is someone gets eliminated, somebody gets to come back makeover with the eliminated girls. I don't think they will. I think that's too much.
Same.
This late in the game, but I dream
big.
I dream
big.
We
dream big.
We dream in Greek, so of course it's big, too proud, and will not hear of any other Mediterranean culture.
And we salute it.
My name is Nico. Yeah. I mean, I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So, speaking though of cultures that are really proud of the way they do things, UK Drag Race. Let me tell you what it meant to me that they basically took Claim to Fame's talent show and pretended they created it. I loved this talent show. Every girl was more talented than the last. Every girl was more impressive than the last. Every girl had a fire, a uniqueness, a one-of-a-kind. When I read a month ago, man, I can hear I used too much symbol in this. When I read a month ago
no, I was symbols. I love it.
Oh, that's why I use them so much, right? So that they said this was the most unique group of girls that the UK had ever seen. I was like, yeah, okay, you can fuck yourself. That's bullshit. You know what? If you're actually asking me what each girl checks off, if it's one of those, he's taller than Mike, but shorter than Diane kind of situations where you're doing the multi-checks, I don't think any two girls have three things in common. I really, really love what I am seeing.
I too love what I'm seeing. I will say, I feel like I finally did the thing I always say I'm going to do when a new season starts, and sat down and took notes as I was going, really quickly, just first impression stuff. And what I will say is about 6 of them, I had a note that was this is giving other Drag Race queen. This is giving Jinx. This is giving Max. We all know who I'm talking about. There were a bunch of them who felt like I've seen this before, and I've really seen it before on Drag Race. And even ones that I liked and I have a lot of promise for. Oh God, I really hate saying it because she really did great. I like her a lot and I'm rooting for her. I feel bad, but I'm going to say it. Actavia, it felt like a little bit Team U Aquaria.
No, I believe what I said
Anitra.
was, look at this horrifying ginger Aquaria. She is going to win.
I mean, that's the thing. It's I also thought she was really good and she was great in the talent show, but the name is very it was just a bad confluence of circumstances. I probably wouldn't have worn this look. I will say there were a lot of every girl by the end of the episode, I thought every girl basically was really amazing, and I'm super excited to see any of them for the most part go to the end. But there were again about half of them where I was I probably just would not have worn this look. Given, because none of the looks were well, you're clearly so poor you couldn't afford anything better, so this is clearly the best you could do. All of them were really great. It's just I might have looked at it and thought I can do something more me, less somebody else, maybe more put together. There were about 6 looks that I probably would. This was a big one. I probably would not have done this look. I love her.
This as
it's a bit quick drag.
I love Saki. I probably would not have done this look. And there,
Or I
there are
would
a
have
few-
done the rest of it too.
Yeah, there's that too. Again, Jimbo,
I know, but I love this girl.
I love her so much, but it was just like immediately Jimbo, immediately Tace. And again, love her so good, but immediately I was just like, I can think of another queen that gave it first, Trinity the Tuck.
Okay, wait. Can TK, I think he's the only person to
please.
get this. Does she not look like Dracmorda from Dragula?
Yes.
The big one?
Yes, actually,
I
you
should've said
nailed
big one,
that.
the taller one.
That is actually better than Trinity as a comparison. But
That's all for my Dragula ghouls out there.
Well,
It's-
because I was about to say that person looks like two Trinities stacked on top of each other and then botched together.
it's not even like it's gonna happen, of course, because people are very similar, styles are similar. Like, it's not necessarily bad that people evoke somebody else and look like them. I just I don't know. If I was preparing for the show and I saw a picture of myself because again, none of these looks give me anybody else. This first runway was so exciting and so impressive and so cool. So it's clearly not that they all are just I'm going to be the Jimbo and I'm going to do everything Jimbo did. So sometimes I'm just I might have, looked at I might have taken a photo of myself in this outfit as I was preparing and then maybe done something else. There's just a little bit of that feeling, but yeah, they are all so cool.
And it's really funny because I think about how when I go out in the world, I will literally send people snaps and be like, do I look like an idiot? And one of
I
the
never
things,
get these snaps.
Well, because I'm afraid you'll say yes. So
I want to.
Well, I don't need more people.
So you don't
telling me
actually
I'm
want to
awful.
know. You just want to be told you look great.
Oh, no, I just want people to tell me nicely. And I think that's what these girls don't have. They don't have anyone to tell them
nobody's telling
nicely.
them nicely.
These girls only have people that are here to tell them what competition might say.
Yeah.
And without having a fair place to, because that's even part of what I think made the difference between Global and UK. Global has an air of every one of these girls thinks that nothing bad can happen to them. They can get cut, but they still have a career. And they were still invited to Global. But, one of the things is I was just reading, Marmalade was saying that Rue visits Barry at least once a year to scout local talent. And so it's not unusual at a drag club to see Rue sitting incognito in Barry. And one of the reasons that's so interesting to me is because we get so confident in our standing, being where we're from, whether it's because all three of our major cities,
whether
here,
it's Manchester or Manchester, or
London, right? But I mean, the three of us have New York City, Portland, and Philly. So we have three major cities that we can reflect on. Enough. And I think about what that means to some of these girls having their strength of support. And in the UK, some of these girls really are from villages. Some of these girls really are the Swiss Miss Land O'Lakes girls. And they're just doing their best to bring you their cream rolls. And I wonder if part of what made this episode so good to me is every single one of these girls was singing for their supper, but the girls on Global I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's why I haven't paid the money to see Mariah sing live, because I know she's gonna sing like she's worth $500 million. But something that I appreciate to this day is Tori Amos always sings like this might be the last time she's allowed to perform live. And that's the difference between the Drag Race UK and Global All-Stars girls. Every one of these girls gave me their private moment, and I did not get that from Global this whole season.
Can we talk about show Tori? Unless you have something else to say, I want to ask. If here, first,
Tori
you have
always
to-
tells me I look handsome.
Stop.
It's true.
Don't.
I think for me, one of the things that I've struggled with Global All Stars is that it all feels very surface. It doesn't feel like we're getting actual real interaction amongst the girls. That there's not as much like we'll have the moments where hey everyone, were you bullied? But they're not having the other stuff where they're like, girl, did you take my sweater? We're not getting those.
Yeah.
We're not getting the oh my god, you and your French vanilla fantasy lattes. Like,
Where
we're
the
not
hell is my
getting
chiffon?
that. And so because it's, I don't know why, to me it feels like, oh well, they must be wanting to spotlight each girl and they're just never meshing, so we might as well. But then I'm like, no, we don't see most of these girls like a lot of the time. They're not like focusing on 6 of them as opposed to only focusing in on 3. So I think it's a weird production editing choice with Global All Stars, facilitated by the fact that the girls just don't interact that much unless they're literally sat down next to each other with pen and paper and said, at some point, please talk.
It's also so tough, I think, cross-culturally to start those fights.
Yeah.
And I wish I think somebody should have thought of that and been like, okay, so what do we do? Because that is part of this audience loves that people love great TV.
Mm-hmm.
And the American girls, there's always a bunch of girls who are like, even if I'm tanking on this show as a performer, I'm bringing great TV. Like, I know I'm doing that. And you can just see that, like, some of the European girls are like, I'm not going to fight somebody to make great TV because that's not culturally how we do it in Switzerland, I imagine.
Yeah.
It's why the best they've been able to milk so far this season was that Nehelania moment that really wasn't much of anything. And that just goes to show how many weeks ago was that now?
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to do anything dramatic since.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder how much, even when you think back on, like, okay, so when you say to someone, this moment is special, there's a sort of production element that is it's a little bit different. Like, if Jonah and I have a really amazing time when we're playing Pokemon and eating grilled cheeses and there's a funny joke and like we think back, wow, this moment was so special, we can look back on, right? We can look back on our cheddar Pokemon moment and we can love it. We have sourdough from Rockland Bakery, so and you're from Nyack, no what's
grilled
up.
cheese. Let's cut this show and go like grilled cheeses.
Please, by all means, we'll still be going, so you have time to make the cheese.
I'll be back with a grilled cheese. I'll see you guys later.
But one of the things that winds up happening is you can't tell somebody why that grilled cheese was so good. You can't explain that moment of why playing Pokemon and eating grilled cheese and telling that joke was so magic. And so part of what you wind up having happen is, and I think I can't believe I'm defending an editor at this point. This has gone too far. But one of the things that I think the editors and the producers really do have happen is they know these girls a little better than we do on a personal level. And so their interactions with these girls color their determinations of the editorial process. I know that I myself will sometimes cry out a note. And like when I hear it, I'm like, oh my God, that's the take. And then 6 months later, I'm listening and I'm like, wow, I'm literally crying. That sounds terrible. But it's the emotion of the moment. And I think when you're thinking about these producers and these editors, knowing these girls as real people, like I'm really proud that Luxurious Temptation has been my friend for a decade. I think she is one of the most talented women I've ever met. And I think that the performer behind the makeup is literally maybe one of the only people better in this world. And so like, I feel lucky, and I would edit anything about Luxury to make her look like a genius, because I wouldn't know how to separate the person I love. And I wonder if that's kind of what we're seeing with Nehelenia. That was such a beautiful moment of honest, real humanity, that these producers, these editors, these story assistants know her, and they can frame it that way. And to us, now it's been 3 weeks without that. And to them, she's still a person thriving in their ecosystem. And so I wonder how much the beauty of humanity is lost to the reels of editing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of production is maybe too close to this. We talk about this a lot with comics, just like creators get too close to the subject and they do it for too long. And it makes it difficult when you start having careers on the same shows and that's what you're producing and editing all the time. It's not even the girls themselves, which I think is a big part of it, but like also like you're maybe just too close to the creative process and the machine. So you're like, it has to work like this. We have to have this, this, and this. And you're kind of missing that we're all losing interest or getting frustrated as audience members. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's kind of naturally part of the kind of big machine creative process like this.
I'm also a little. I feel like probably the producers that each of these girls have are English speaking first language,
Yeah.
and so we might also have
Right.
that. There's always going to be that slight disconnect between the girls, even with their own producer.
Yeah.
Of making it a more comfortable experience.
Would have been really fascinating to, again, this like that team idea to ensure that everybody had a translator. I'm maybe financially that's too expensive. I don't know, but would have been really cool to know that everybody had somebody that spoke and like not just like I can tell that she's asking for lunch, but like she can bounce her high concept ideas off me. Translator. That would have been really a fascinating aspect of this.
I agree. A show created and hosted by a huge minority focusing on accessibility and the opportunity to communicate your art really would be great, wouldn't it?
Your eyes when you're going in for those types of jokes, I can see it every time. I do like it.
It's a Greek boy thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing it's my eyes,
Hey.
because otherwise it might be a bad outfit that you'd have to let me know was terrible. So
Well, you're never going to tell me, so I'm never going to get to. You're never going to show me the outfits, but
wait, I'm to
I
save
live in
myself
hope.
to save myself the headache, I'm just going to remove you on Snapchat so we're safe.
it's for the
But
best. Real talk. Does everybody agree with me and my position that Charity and Dita Garbeau should have been in the bottom?
Yes.
Great. Okay. I'm always right.
I think
Wait.
Okay. Yeah. Tori, you were high on my list of I hope disagrees with me.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Dita Garbo did a. It was definitely the catchiest song. Apparently,
It was the
but-
earwormiest song. Yes.
it was the earwormiest song. I would have thrown Chanel O'Connor in there, and I would have been like, pick two.
Oh, okay. I like that. I thought it was.
hers was good. I thought it was.
I thought the
witty.
joke was really.
I thought
funny.
it was. I enjoyed it. I don't know
Yeah.
if Lou did.
Yeah, Rue thought the joke was really funny, but then I mean, like the thing is, she clearly can sing. But because it is that song, it's never gonna actually really prove that you can sing. The joke was really funny. Yeah, I don't know. Kevo, it seemed
Yeah.
like you agreed. Nico,
You want me to go first?
yeah.
You know, it was not great for sure. Hold on, I'm looking at some other.
you're trying to go through and remember if anybody was worse.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and I most specifically did not
Ah!
love the spoken word.
I think if we
Uh,
had not had Megami earlier this year, we might have maybe all felt differently about. For me, I was like, okay, this is what Megami was trying to do.
Okay, but
I-
had season 16 aired before she did this, and she pulled out a sign and said "Protect queer art." I
Yes,
would live for it.
please.
Well,
That
but
was
hold on.
part of what that was part of even I think the joke that I made
Yes.
was at least she, was doing something and it wasn't
Yeah.
just non-moving lip syncing and holding up a sign.
I will
I just
say
wasn't
the
at
shoe reveal was unforgivable. If you're gonna make the whole thing
Yeah.
about that, you better have way fucking better shoes, my girl.
As a performance art faggot, as like
Sure.
the one of us up here who has done spoken word poetry in concert. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you've also done spoken word poetry in concert. Did not mean to.
At a Salvation Army run venue.
Oh no, mine was for a room full of angry gays. So
Mine was too, because we were in a Salvation Army run venue.
This was not what Megami did, and
No,
so
it was
like
not.
I've had the opportunity to talk to Megami, and real person, very lovely, very human, and so I'm not going to make cheap jokes about a person I've gotten to know. I'll make very expensive jokes. Pay me. And so no, the truth is, I understand what Megami was trying to do, but Megami was creating a moment of protest in an argument of loudness. And what Marmalade sought to do was to create a moment of quiet in a loud storm. And so what I want to say about this spoken word was it was not what I wanted. But to compare the two things is a little almost reductive for me, because the act of silence is so much different than the act of being loud. Kevo is silent. I scream. And yet both of us are so powerfully loud in our way. And I think what Marmalade did evolved the discussion of how we engage sound. And Megami is still kind of waiting for people to appreciate her interpretation of silence. And look, I also don't like Disturbed's cover of The Sound of Silence. Look, it doesn't work sometimes. Sorry about it. You can have 2 labret piercings, but it's not going to happen. And I do think this is actually the opposite end of what Megami did in a way that needs to be signaled as important.
And I do want to at least say, that there is at least the comparison insofar as I really appreciate the queens who do something with the opportunity. Original songs are fun, but which was the queen who did the performance piece from Global with the rice cooker this past talent show?
Eva the Queen.
That was really great. This performance really gave me vibes of that, and so did Kyron. It also gave me vibes of Irene from season 15. Unfortunately, quick cut. But that's the thing. When you do these things that are kind of odd performance art pieces, they can go over well or they can go over poorly. I think this was one in particular that had the risk of going over poorly. I think this was one that no matter what was going to play, Kyron was one that was going to play more towards Rue's sensibilities, and I think that helped.
I thought this was going to be a disaster. It was not at all, but as soon as she came out on stage, I was immediately like, this is going to be a disaster.
Highlight of my night.
This one gives me a lot of different feelings. I can't tell if this is one of those ones that I just enjoyed despite myself, like I know I would enjoy elements of The Boys despite myself.
Right.
Great reaction, though.
The thing about basically everybody's performance is they really put in thought and work and brand and ideas. We had, I think, 4 numbers that were a lip-synced original song with strong dance, but not standout dance.
Right.
And it's only, it's so weird. It played so differently here because in an American season lately, that's maybe going to be more like 6 to 8 of the girls. It could definitely be the majority of them. And then they really start to not stand out. And my thing is every time we do one of these, particularly in the Americas, I get frustrated and I say, like, everybody has actual talent. Like, everybody can do stuff. Please show me actual talent. And like Relisa was such a good example because she did do one of those numbers, but one, she themed it really specifically to be more of a striptease. She put a guy on stage. She also really sang and is not a great singer, but is a good singer enough that I was compelled by her singing. There were some talented vocalists around whom I would be intimidated to sing. Mm-hmm. And I think having the kind of voice where, like, nobody's ever going to say, like, that voice, but you can still pull off a pop song or you can pull off a sexy number. That even elevates the idea of like talent, those two things, like her actually singing and bringing a unique voice and then doing a specific kind of dance elevated her number over, and I'm bummed because they were really great, but like Zafira was one of them where I was just like, this really is, again, this kind of reminds me of Anitra. It's so good. She's so talented. But like when you have so many queens who are doing these insane high concept numbers, I'm both feeling like I'm really glad that everybody stood out as a result of how this all mixed up. But also, again, it just puts me in that mode of like, come with your actual talent. Like, show me that thing. Because everybody, it seems like, really does have it. They just kind of get a little in their heads and then do something that plays very safe.
Yeah. Jonah, you had something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, for the most part, everybody did pretty amazing, but it was kind of so fascinating to see kind of Kyran destroy the episode. she kind of really just owned from top to bottom, entrance look to performance to runway to lip sync. She kind of dominated it in a way that was like, oh, so we found our winner? Question mark.
I don't know about winner, but certainly high contender. I don't love her for the win, but there are a lot of girls like her who have won, so there's historic precedent.
You're
But I
not
do
betting
think a
on
lot
it, or
of-
she's not who you would want?
Both, but I am certainly betting on high ranking, and I am certainly saying if she wins, I would not be surprised.
Well, I would not be surprised if any of these girls would go on to have incredible careers on UK versus the World, Global All Stars, and more. The number of girls here who bring A+ talent, it just really makes me want to give out report cards, because I would love to feel like I gave as many people here their kudos as they deserve. But as we wrap this episode up, I would love to get everybody's take. Which did you prefer more this week? And where can everybody find you? I'm going to start with Jonah. Why? Because he's looking so fly with his blue headphones and his blue microphone. I cannot stop myself. Jojo, where can everybody find you? And which was your preferred episode?
You can find me places at Peak Jonah. Finally get to say that myself this episode. And for my money, I actually preferred UK. Global did really good, but because UK felt refreshing in the sense that everything about the episode made sense. The top 6 made sense. The top 2 seems really like believable, strong people that I would have picked from for the top 2. To the winner of the lip sync, everything about it felt correct. So it felt refreshing. It felt interesting. It felt a little bit new. Maybe that's just because it is just new and it's a whole new cast of people. But I'm really hoping Global can have a strong finish, even though it feels a little shaky.
I love that. That's such a realistic take, because that's a big part of it for me. It's about realism and not just about engaging with it. You know, we can all have our favorites and we can all have our people we want to see win. For instance, I would want Tori to win Drag Race this show tonight. She would have my vote for Crown. So I would love to know, Tori, where can everybody find you, and which was your preferred 2, and why?
You can find me online at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I. Which was my preferred episode this week? I think for me, I enjoyed actually really enjoyed meeting all of these girls. I have a difficulty meeting 16, 12, however many girls all at once, where I have a lot of facial blindness when it comes to drag. So I'm like, which one are you? Why can't the lower third be there the whole time? But I really felt like a lot of these girls stood out to me. A lot of them were really fantastic. I'm very excited about UK season 6. But I also thought that Global All Stars was a grand old time. I thought the roast was relatively good, and I enjoyed myself. What about you, TK?
It's UK, of course. UK was so fun. It's so great to meet these girls. It goes beyond the fact that this episode of UK I preferred to Global All Stars. This episode of UK is like one of the best opening episodes in a very long time. Such a compelling group of girls, really fantastic talent show, amazing guest judge. Just
Yes.
a guest judge I have been waiting for so long. Was so excited to see. Very glad it was one of her songs. I love her so much. I too have seen her live playing that theremin. She's such a queen. Did not realize she was 58 years old. Really uncomfortable with the aging process and time passing, but that's a me thing. I'm going to deal with that with my therapist later. So definitely it was UK, but like Tori, I was stoked by Global. I'm like, Nelania's journey is also one of those things that like I don't feel like we've seen anything like this in a hot minute, where somebody just like at some point I'm like, oh shit, she like, if this is a race, suddenly she's coming from the back and just taking over, and I'm getting so excited. It's a bummer that she's not winning, because I think she should win some of these, and I'd like to see her make it to the top based on that. But if she doesn't, I will have had so much fun watching her come into her own in this competition, because she's in her own as a person. Like, this is not she's innocent and doesn't get it and needs to learn. She just like had a few stumbling blocks, and this English barrier is definitely a thing. But man, watching her kill that roast was so fun and so cool after the last couple weeks that she's had really just taking over. It has been such a blast to watch. So Global was super fun still, and I'm really hoping that we get to continue those kind of surprises as we pull into the last few episodes. Kevo, what do you got?
I think I am probably going to vote along with the rest of the group. I really was more impressed this week by UK. I have long said I really enjoy an opening talent show because I think that more than something like a ball really gives you a sense of the girls' personalities, what they're going to present, what they're looking to be on this season. And I love that we were able to do it all in one episode. That's always lovely. And I was not as enthused about Global All-Stars this week. I enjoyed it, but I feel like it is another week of I was expecting more from this season. I really, really hope that it drives up as the season ends, especially if we are starting UK and we are already on the first week of UK so excited. This is, again, that overlap that we get into where we start to get concerned about we lose interest in the season that was already airing before it ends because we have a new season. So I really hope they're able to bust out an amazing finale for the Global All-Stars, something that is worthy of the Global All-Stars title. And if not, as we also keep saying, we know we're going to get a second one. So until then, you can find me speculating about Global All-Stars Season 2 over at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALOY. Take us home, Captain.
You guys can find me all over the internet at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And if you want to check out my music, you can check it out at Nico Action Music, NICOACTIONMUSIC. You could probably also check me out getting critiqued on Snapchat for my fashion by the panel, evidently. But beyond that, guys, 3 things we want you guys to do for us: comment, like, and subscribe.
Wait.
3 things you guys can do for what?
What was your favorite episode? What was your favorite?
Yeah.
That was your preferred.
I preferred UK. It was a bummer to see Pathia go home, and it was super nice meeting a whole bunch of new queens. And if you guys want to find out more about what we think, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you guys want to do us a favor, 3 things you guys can do for us. Number 1, you guys can stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. Number 2, please be brave because we want to see you guys be yourselves. But number 3, always evolve daily. Who you were yesterday, amazing. Who you are today, incredible. And who you are tomorrow, that is the dream. And that is what we can't wait to see. So until then, remember, you guys can check us out at X's for Show on all your social media, X's for Podcast if you want to check out our back catalog and more. And until then, we'll see you.